And good morning, everyone. I have a question for the ladies out there, and this would be a question for ladies of a certain age. I like to use that rather than try and put a number on anything. And the question is, how are you dealing with your hot flashes? I have hot flashes. My sister has hot flashes, both of my sisters, and we want to deal with them without going to the doctor and getting some kind of strange drug. So today, my guest on Smart Woman Conversations and Nurturing Big Ideas today is Lorraine Miano. And by the way, Lorraine, I love your name. It's just like musical to me. And Lorraine let me tell you all about Lorraine, because I'm really fascinated by the things that Lorraine does. And we're going to talk also about Lorraine's book. And you can see that I have tabs because when I read the book, I needed references. I needed to be able to go back. But more about Lorraine. As a postmenopausal woman herself, Lorraine Miano discovered her passion of offering menopause advocacy, support, and resources to women in all phases of menopause. Through her health coaching, proper nutrition, and preventative lifestyle choices. She received her certification as a health coach and hormone health expert, I find that fascinating, from the Institute for Integrative Nutrition. She's been able to help even more women by writing and publishing her first book, The Magic of Menopause, a holistic guide to get your happy back. The book helps guide women through the struggles they face as they begin menopause and helps tackle the daily changes such as balancing hormones holistically, balancing hormones holistically, getting a better night's sleep. Getting a better night's sleep, Lorraine, and reducing or eliminating hot flashes, just to name a few. Lorraine encourages her clients with her mantra, menopause is not an ending, it is a beginning. Now, when she's not advocating for the change, you can find Lorraine traveling with her husband, Richard, quite often to visit her 5 grandchildren who call her Nani. So Nani, welcome to Smart Woman.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you so much for having me. I know we've been trying to do this for quite a while.
Yes, we have, because, I'm going to keep holding this book up because I want these ladies to really see it and really buy it. I love that you have the word magic in really big letters here, because I talk about magic all the time, but I'm talking about it in a different context. I'm talking about it in, I think women have magic in their soul. I want you to talk about the magic of menopause, of dealing with it holistically. Tell us a little bit about why you put the word magic in there.
Well, unfortunately, there are so many myths and misconceptions about menopause. And in our society, especially Western culture, we tend to feel there's like a taboo about it. No one's talking about it. And 70% of women that I have coached or surveyed said that they were not getting any education or information from anyone, from their mom to their doctors. And I was one of those women. I was suffering with anxiety, hot flashes, different things. And basically my doctor would say, here, take an antidepressant. Rather than getting to the root of causing things. So I found that women looked at it as negative, and often their perception would determine their experience with it. So I wanted them to realize I found the magic, they can find the magic. These can basically be some of their best years. Just doing some simple lifestyle changes. They can change their outlook, positive outlook, and they'll be able to get the magic in them.
So did this all come about because you were in perimenopause or menopause?
Yes, I was perimenopausal about the same time that my son was having a baby. And I write about the book, and I was scheduled to have a hysterectomy, partial hysterectomy, because of uterine prolapse. Had 3 huge babies, and things were not working well down there. But I didn't realize that many of my symptoms, like migraines, my flow was sometimes I would not have it for a couple of months and then I would have it. Anxiety, depression, like all of these things started popping up, weight gain. And I didn't realize that it was perimenopausal symptoms. Thinking, okay, I'm doing something wrong here. What's going on? Or I've got some kind of an illness, and I wasn't getting the answers I needed. I would go to my gynecologist, do blood work, and they'd say, oh, you're fine, everything's normal. Well, things were not normal. And I discovered that basically once I started studying holistic nutrition.
Oh, wow. So yeah, things are not normal. Yeah, I don't, doctors, you could even get into that. I want to talk about doctors, never mind. So you're studying holistic nutrition. Let's kind of go there because I'm very much interested and I know a lot of women. And so I think I'm heading out of menopause. I don't know. I still have a lot of those symptoms you described. I know women who have them. So talk about the holistic and nutrition and the things like that we can do to help ourselves. We're so focused, women today, we get to this age and we realize, wait a minute now, my health is important and I need to eat better. My health is important and I need not to take so many drugs. So I don't know what to do. What do I do?
From the beginning, I don't know if you've been seeing a lot in the news about gut health. And that how our gut is connected to so many things in our body, from our brain to having, it affects depression, anxiety, and that kind of thing. And when I started studying about holistic nutrition, I realized, wow, eating all of this processed junk, many things we eat are GMOs, processed sugars, all of these things affect our hormone balance. Insulin, one of the most important hormones in our body, and insulin is so important to our sex hormones too. So when you're having insulin resistance from eating too many high glycemic foods and stress levels and cortisol levels so high, that's affecting everything in your body. So really paying attention to what we put in our body. And I like to tell women, if you do nothing else, if you just boost your greens, your dark leafy greens, you would be amazed at how much better you would feel. Just having like 4 to 5 helpings of greens every day, even if you didn't change your exercise, if you didn't change anything else, just as a simple beginning. And I like to tell women, take baby steps because it's not an all or nothing kind of thing. And for us to maintain healthy habits, we really have to take them like one at a time, really incorporate it into our life. So I would say you've heard so many things about green smoothies and whatever. Well, yeah, they're good for you. And there's so many ways to incorporate greens in our life that could be so beneficial to our hormone balance.
That's so important. We grew up, I will say that I know I'm older than you are. And I grew up, we didn't eat greens. We didn't go to the store and get fresh food. We ate food out of a can. And my mother had a little grocery store. And so I had to cook dinner. She would be there because it was open from 8 in the morning to 10 at night or something. And my sister and brother laugh and pick on me because apparently I didn't cook that well. But we didn't have salads. I think about that now, and I love salads. I don't like making them because it takes so much time. I do love eating them. I do love when you have a restaurant that you like and they have something good in the salad, and it isn't just bib lettuce. It's a whole bunch of other greens. So when we're talking greens, tell us what you're talking about. Spinach is one, correct? It's Swiss chard. Oh, and kale. Everybody hates kale.
There's so many wonderful ways to eat kale. And what people don't realize, if you massage it, that's one of the things I learned when I went to school. It softens it. A lot of people think it's like tough, especially if it's raw. But if you massage it with a little bit of oil in a bowl and then add it to a salad, it's delicious. I add it to soups. Just put it in there till it's just enough and adds just enough. It doesn't have a whole lot of flavor when you add it, but you're getting a lot of nutrition. Dandelion greens. One of my favorite greens is arugula, and I can just eat a whole salad of just arugula because it's kind of like that spicy, peppery kind of taste. What others? Swiss chard. There's all different colors of Swiss chard: red, green. and bok choy, and of course the cruciferous vegetables too, like broccoli, cabbage, things like that. Those are so beneficial to our health and to our hormone balance. And there's so many ways. In my book, I give examples of different dressings you could make yourself, because unfortunately, many people buy bottle dressings that are full of horrible fats and processed sugars, and they are so easy to make. And you can make a whole bottle and it'll stay in the fridge for a week. So I've included that too, to encourage women to make their own at home so that they can have salads to go. And another big thing as far as salads go, if you do prep, like on the weekends, because I know you said it's like so much work to make a salad. If you chop all your veggies on the weekend and put them in little baggies in the fridge for your salad or however, or mason jars, a lot of people use mason jars, you'll have it for the week, and you can just have like a salad bar in your refrigerator.
Interesting. Yes. Huh. And why am I not smart enough to think of that? But you know, I think women need someone to tell them not just what you just described in the nutrition aspects, but to talk about menopause itself. And let's talk about perimenopause though, because that wasn't something I really knew anything about. I had a hysterectomy when I was 37 or 38, somewhere around there. And it was after a long, drawn-out battle with several doctors, because you're too young, we can't do this. What if all your kids die in a fire? I said, don't talk to me like that, because I feel like I'm going to die if you don't do this. But no one told me after that what would happen, that I'd be in perimenopause, because they took one ovary and left one. But so anyway, this is a new concept to women, especially women who are experiencing it now. Talk about that a little bit.
Okay. The term perimenopause, I think, actually just came about like in the 90s. Prior to that, we didn't even really talk about it. They kind of lumped this whole experience into the word menopause. And actually, of menopause is actually one day. It's the 12-month anniversary of when your menses cease. That's menopause. Prior to that, you're perimenopausal. The day after that, you're postmenopausal. And women are postmenopausal for the rest of their lives. So menopause can be anywhere from can last anywhere from 2 to 15 years.
Holy cow.
Symptoms can range from nothing to horrific things such as severe anxiety, dealing with horrible menstrual cycles that can be either increased or decreased, inconsistent, and women don't realize that these are perimenopausal symptoms. Migraines, and then the hot flashes, and the night sweats. So, but for many women, they don't experience that. And actually, did you know that the Western culture is one of the few cultures that actually have so many menopausal symptoms? In other parts of the world, like in India, I think the only symptoms they experience are change in their menses. In Japan, very few hot flashes. All they have is shoulder pain. And a lot of it is attributed, they feel, to lifestyle, nutrition. And unfortunately, we baby boomers have been exposed from the time that we were very young. They started spraying our crops with glyphosate. Did I say that right? Anyway, toxins, pesticides, and we got away from eating organic like our grandmothers and great-grandmothers did. I don't even remember my grandmother ever talking about a hot flash. Possibly she had some, but I never saw her experience it. So I think the things that we're exposed to, from what we put in our bodies to what we put on our bodies, there are so many xenoestrogens. So these are like the estrogens that attach to the receptors in our body from our skincare products, parabens and sulfates and things like that. Women don't realize we use over, on average, 12 products a day, if you count hair products, makeup, skincare products, and all of those things are being absorbed into our largest organ, which is our skin. And they are disrupting our hormone balance. So many women may be experiencing symptoms that they don't necessarily have to experience because of the things that they're exposed to. Even things in our home, like using Teflon pots. all of they excrete toxins into the air. These are affecting our hormone balance. The water that we drink. It depends on where you are in the country. There's a great website called EWG.org, Environmental Working Group, and they have an app called Skin Deep, where you can put in the products that you use, and they'll tell you the risk factor for cancer, things like that, hormone disruptors. And if the specific product isn't in there, you can actually just input the ingredients that are in your product. So if you just put in one ingredient, you can check and see how toxic that might be for you. It is a fantastic source for women. I highly recommend everyone use it to test out the products that they're using at home.
I'm going to have to do that. My gosh. So when I think about menopause and the things that we go through, at no time would I think about the products I put on my skin. At no time would that enter my brain. I would think about what I'm taking inside my, my stomach, so to speak, and not want to. I mean, I know most of us don't want to do what our mothers did. And my mother must have been on a whole line of pills, and it was like, I am not doing that when I get old. But the key, I think, is your point, the better nutrition, but also understanding what that means, and not just, that's why your book is really good, because you do so much to help educate us on the symptoms and the things that we are going through and help us understand them. And so I'm fascinated that you're telling us women in other countries don't. Is that because they have the right diet throughout their lives? I mean, tell us a little more about that.
Well, Western culture, we're probably the worst culture as far as eating processed foods. So many sugars. And fortunately, back, I think it was in the early 60s, the sugar industry had us convinced that eating fat was making us fat and making us sick. And so our culture kind of went to low-fat foods. Well, when that happened, they started adding more sugar and oils, different hydrogenated and different kind of oils to the foods. So what has happened, instead of us getting healthier, we are at record levels of obesity, diabetes, depression, anxiety. I mean, your brain needs fat and your body needs fat. And really, it's sugar that's making us fat. So Western culture, to get back to your question, Western culture has so many processed foods where maybe other cultures, unfortunately, they're taking on our bad habits, but in the past have eaten a more organic, whole foods type of diet. Another big consideration is that in our culture, if you Google the word menopause and look at the images for it, you will see women who are miserable, fanning themselves, or faces like this, horrible pictures, where that's why in our culture it feels like it's an ending, and I want women to change that whole perception. In other cultures, it is felt as if it's a new beginning for women. They are held in esteem. They're given different jobs to do in the family, given more things they could be passionate about, and are encouraged to continue their life in a positive aspect. Where here it's kind of like, oh my gosh, menopause. Ugh.
Yeah. Now you're dead. Go lie down.
Right. You're old. Go away. I remember reading an article about saying how women feel like they're invisible now, after the age of 50. That okay, you're done.
Yeah.
Like everybody to realize, no, you've got a third of your life ahead of you, at least.
That is so key, Lorraine. That is so key, and I think it connects, and this is a big deal to me. That's why I was thinking before we got on to the recording. I was thinking about how women are so connected, and if we share this information with each other, then we all feel better. And the whole concept of our society that women over 45 are too old to do anything or be sexy or be attractive, it doesn't matter. I mean, I do see, it's interesting because I'm sorry everybody, I watch Entertainment Tonight and or today, and you see them glorifying like Jennifer Lawrence, Jennifer, Hudson, all the Jennifers. And one of them just turned 50, and she's just gorgeous. The one that dances and sings and is engaged to the baseball player. But anyway, and so I think, hey, when I was 50, I looked just as good as that because I took care of myself, because I was interested and purposefully looking at my life as not ending, but as kind of beginning. So collectively, where I'm going with this is, if we collectively can teach people what you're teaching us, and the fact that you're not at 50, life doesn't stop. It actually gets better, because now most of our kids are grown and gone, and we're not doing that kind of thing, and we can do some other kind of thing. Do you see that?
Yeah. I mean, I am one of those people. At 55, I became a health coach. At 58, I wrote my first book.
Awesome.
I feel like I have so many more things I want to do, you know, and travel is a big one. I feel like one thing I always like to say, since I have 5 grandchildren who call me Nani, and I love them dearly and travel to see them as often as I can, but I also want to be able to do things with them for as long as possible. I want to be able to get down on the floor with the babies. I want to be able to do activities like play basketball with my 3-year-old grandson. I want to do all those things and have those memories with them. I know that you probably in the book remember I talked about my 2 grandmothers and how the effect that they had on my life. And one took really good care of herself, and one was, you know, drank a lot of alcohol, smoked, loved her dearly, and we had wonderful times together, but those times were cut short because she ended up with emphysema and bedridden. And one, you know, she lived to almost 90 and saw 10 great grandchildren born. And she had simple things she did every day, little exercises, and walked every day, took care of her skin, did not go in the sun. And she was Sicilian, and she had the most pure, beautiful skin. But I remember her always being young, being 10, watching her do her little exercises and saying, wow, she's so committed to this and does them every single day. But what an effect it had on her life. And I got to spend many years with her. So I would like to provide my grandchildren with that opportunity. I would like them to have me around for as long as possible.
And healthy.
Or other women to do the same.
Yes, and so we want to be around, but we want to be around and healthy. So I have to put a little plug in here for my husband. He just wrote a book, and I always mess up the title. Tom, where's your book? It's 6. Here it is. I got Read 'em and Reap. And excuse me, I'm gonna step away 1 second. This is all very related. It's all something that people in general, but women can learn a lot from. And basically his book, Read 'em and Reap, it's 6 science-backed ways reading puts you on the road to achieving more and living longer. Thank you, honey. And basically,
congrats.
Basically, though, the premise here is that reading itself, like nutrition, helps your brain and your body. So while you're reading, your body is absorbing that wonderful information. So that's another reason everybody should get your book. And we need to do more things like that. So relevant to what you're saying, it's exercise for our whole body, and it's nutrition for. So we're coming to the end here of our talk, but I want to talk a little bit more about the nutrition. We talked about leafy green vegetables and things like that. How do you feel about the new focus on plant-based eating or being vegan?
I feel that everyone is different. Okay. I am what I call a flexitarian. So I will eat a little bit of everything. I don't eat a whole lot of red meat, but once in a while, a good hamburger comes in handy. But I do encourage women to see what works for their bodies. Of course, I would say make at least half your plate vegetables, leafy greens, any other kind of vegetables. And actually, depending on the season, eat what's in season in your area. Go to local farmers markets and buy like the squash and the sweet potatoes and things like that, because that's coming into season, those kinds of things. So I think paying more attention to seasonal, local, organic. Then next, after that, if you do enjoy meat, in moderation. And I would suggest, if you want to eat red meat, to buy grass-fed organic meat. I think there's a lot to be said for the way animals are treated as well. So you want to eat an animal that's lived a good life and not a stressed, horrible life. Eating wild-caught fish is wonderful for you if you are, and you may be a pescatarian, so you may have vegetables and fish. But I would say each woman should probably experiment. And I always encourage using a food diary and doing food journaling, because if you write down what you eat and then hours later you can mark, how do I feel? You'll know what agrees with you and what doesn't agree with you. We talk about that in the book too, because women don't realize. I had one woman who was having hot flashes. And when we really sat down and looked over, I had her do a food journal. And when we actually looked at her food journal, I said, okay, look on these days when you were having major hot flashes, what were you having? And she realized she was drinking too much iced tea on those days. So she had never made the connection before, because caffeine can be a big trigger. So just putting things on paper, kind of keeping track of what you're eating, how you feel a few hours later or even the next day, you'll be able to tell what works well for your body. Obviously, the more plants you eat, the better that you'll feel, and the more you cut out and eliminate processed foods of any kind, because unfortunately, there's this gluten-free diet. I have 2 daughters who have celiac disease, so they can't have gluten. Discovered, however, that all of the things that are gluten-free, like all the processed foods that are gluten-free, have a higher glycemic index because many of them are made with rice flour. So just because something is stated that it's gluten-free, if it's processed, it could actually be worse for you than things that are not gluten-free. So sticking to whole foods, whole grains, beans, legumes, healthy meats, organic chicken. And I will guarantee, if you have not had organic chicken, it tastes so much better than conventional chicken. So much better. My husband won't buy anything else now. I've really converted him. So sticking to organic meats, grass-fed meats will all benefit you if that's what's good for your body. But you'll be able to tell what will be beneficial to you in the food journaling.
So one last question. What about dairy? We got to give up ice cream?
Again, I always say everything in moderation. Whenever people say, oh, you're a health coach, I'll be sitting next to someone in a restaurant, a friend, and they're like afraid to show me what they're eating. I'm like, I eat cake. I have birthday cake, I do, indulge once in a while. And like I say to everybody, the 80-20 rule is always great. If you can eat healthy 80% of the time, enjoy the other 20%. I mean, have that piece of cake on the weekends, have that glass of wine. It's just a matter of everything in modification, what works for your body. And if you're experiencing symptoms, you'll know by eliminating certain things, how, that you'll feel better. So you can indulge when you want, party when you want, but for 80% of the time, try to stick to a really healthy diet.
Well, Lorraine, this has really been informative, educational, and fun. And I really want to hear more about the grandchildren. But next time we'll make you show us pictures. But now, do you take this show on the road? How can other people connect with you so that they can learn?
Okay, I have a website, themagicofmenopause.com.
Okay.
And on Facebook, you can find me at Making Menopause Magical. And then I've also joined several hubs for healthy living. And I don't know if you've heard of WeGo Health, but they've kind of hired me as a patient leader. Well, I wouldn't say hire. I've kind of coordinated with them as a patient leader. So I'm working on that website as an advocate for menopause. And several other sites, which I'll be talking about on my Facebook page, where I'm considered an expert on their site. So I'm providing content, and that it's kind of a virtual health coach, so that I can help women all over.
Awesome.
And then I do workshops. I'm not doing individual coaching currently because I feel I'm traveling so much. So I feel the virtual way is a good way for me to help a lot more women.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I think virtual is very effective,
Mhm.
and it works. It just works. Well, Lorraine, I so appreciate everything that you shared with us, and I do want to do this again down the road. Maybe we'll be able to talk about some success stories with some women, and it just, to me, it just helps to connect women to each other and to the information. And we're better to get it than from someone like you who has taken the time to learn what we need to know. So I have to thank you very much for being
Okay.
here.
I want to leave you with just one quote. So there's an old Native American saying that goes, when a woman begins menstruating, she is introduced to her power. During her menstruating years, she learns her power. And at menopause, she is her power.
I love it. Oh, that's so awesome. I'm going to put that in a chart and put it up there, put your name on it. Make
So
sure
I
people
want
know.
women to know that
Yeah, that
it's a
is
new
perfect.
beginning.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And we'll do this again down the road.
Thanks so much. I'll see you soon.